Welcome, my name's Colleen, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to do basic crochet. We're going to learn how to do a slip knot, how to chain, how to do a single crochet and a double crochet, and then once we've got those sorted out, then I'm going to teach you how to go through the process, all the stitches that are involved in this tea towel topper. I will link below the tea towel topper tutorial that I've done. So by the end of the tutorial today, you're going to know all the stitches to do this. So are you ready? Let's get started. The first thing we'll need is a crochet hook. There are a number of different types of crochet hooks, so let's take a look at them. The first ones we'll discuss are plain aluminum. So if you take a look at these crochet hooks, so the first two that I'm pointing to, those ones will deal with most like crochet cotton. Very fine. This one you can hardly see what the tip looks like. But they're lovely to work with, and that's the kind that you can get if you're going to deal with crochet cotton. Now if you take a look at this one, this is also an aluminum needle, but you, an aluminum hook, but there's no, there's nothing to support your hand. So some people find that their hand can get cramped when using it. It's very lightweight though, and easy to work with. So those are what aluminum hooks look like. Next, I will show you 3 clover hooks. The first one is called a clover soft touch. So it is more of a flat edge here. The idea is there is a soft place there for your thumb. And so some people like that, but for some people, that's not going to work for them. So that's a clover soft hook, soft touch. Then one of the most popular crochet hooks is a clover amour or amore. And depending on the size of the hook, depends on what the hook itself is made out of. So this is 5.0 millimeters, and it is aluminum. And it has got a very nice ergonomic handle. I've worked with these a lot, and I've heard a lot of good things about these. You can buy these individually or you can buy them in a set, but the where the handle is makes it really easy to work with. Now, as you get into the larger size, so this is an 8 millimeter of the clover amour or amour. This one is now plastic. And the reason why it's plastic is because if it was metal, it would be way too heavy to work with. But it's also nice to work with. Now, the other thing you can do is you can get something that's a prim one, and they always deal with things that are very ergonomic for you. So there is an example of one. And I have used prim crochet hooks at the larger size. As I get into the smaller ones, I'm not sure that I like it as much because it's very long, but when you're dealing with really thick yarn, it's really helpful. And I like that one as well. Now, the other thing that you can get is bamboo or wooden needles. Now, this one has a funny end because it's part of a Tunisian crochet set. But this is a Takumi, and this is a 5 millimeter, and that's by Clover as well. But it is made out of bamboo. It's lovely, but I prefer the ones that are a little bit more slick than this one. So we won't be using that one when we decide what we're going to do. So those are the kinds of crochet hooks that you can get. Now, as far as the size go, you want to take a look at the yarn that you're going to use. So this is Barocco Comfort. And I'm taking a look at the back, and it has a place where it says crochet gauge. And it tells me that for this yarn, I can use a 5 millimeter hook. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a 5 millimeter hook. And this is a worsted weight. A 4 is what that yarn is. So that's good. So if you take a look, here are some things that can be markers in crochet. This first one is a cute little penguin, and it has a lobster claw. And the whole idea when you're getting markers for crochet is they need to be able to come off and back on. It's not like knitting where they can slip off a needle. So that's how the lobster claw works, and you just click it onto your crochet, and so that will work nicely. Another kind that you can get is a bulb stitch marker. Once again, it's removable, so it is just like a pin. So it will open, and you can use that. And then another thing that you can do is, this is a split ring, so it just will hook on, but then it comes off just as easy. So if you're ever working crochet in the round, this is a great one to use. So those are stitch markers that you can use. My plan is to do all the stitches that you need to have in crochet in order to make that tea towel topper that is in a previous video. And I will link that video below, and then you'll be able to see how it goes. We're going to start off, I'm using worsted weight yarn, and I'm not using, it doesn't have any wool in it because wool can be a little grippy. So this is just a worsted weight yarn, and I'm using a 5mm hook. So to get started, we need to first of all make ourselves a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, you're going to loop things around. So you kind of make a little hole, then you put that side through, and then you pull it to tighten. And there's a slip knot. Let's try that again. You go around, and then you take the end through it, and then you just pull it to tighten it. And there's your slip knot, and you just slip it onto your hook and give it a pull, and there you are set. So you're ready to start doing our first thing. Now we've got it on our hook. What we need to do is figure out how to tension it with our hand. I'm right-handed. You can hold your crochet hook in two ways. You can either hold it like a pencil, like that, or you can hold it like a knife, like that. Now, I was taught holding it like a knife, so that's what I'm going to do. But just try and figure out whether this is more comfortable for you or whether this is more comfortable for you. Either way works. Now, we need to tension this yarn. It can't just sit there and be all floppy, so we need to do that. So I'm going to show you what I do on my hand. So I'm going to take it over my pinky finger, behind my other 3 fingers, and bring it over, and then I pinch that slip knot between my thumb and my middle finger. Let's try that one more time. So there's my hand facing up. I'm going to go over my pinky and around those, and then I just pinch that slip knot. So now it's going to give me some space to work through. Now we're going to do what's called a chain stitch, and technically in the tea towel topper you don't need this, but we need to do it so you know how to get started in crochet. So here we go. So there's where it's tensioned. I'm going to go to the left and around and turn my hook, and then I'm going to pull it through that, and I've got one chain done. So hopefully you can see that. Then I'm going to do it again. So around to the left, over to the right, and notice I turn my hook so it's got a clean spot through there. So once again, I go around left, over right, come through, and come around and through, over to the left, around to the right, and through. And you can see, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. Okay, it looks good. Now yours may be a little, the tension may not be even, and that's okay, because watch how easy crochet is to rip out. So I take my hook out and I rip it out. So now I'm starting fresh. So once again, I start with a slip knot, give it a pull, then I'm going to put my crochet hook through and tighten the knot up, over my pinky, behind those 3 fingers, and then give it a pinch with the middle finger and my thumb, and now it's ready to go again. So to the left and over and come through, to the left, come around and go through, left and through, left and through. And as you keep practicing this, you'll get more comfortable with it. So what you should do now is you can pause this video and go try this 2 or 3 times until you get really comfortable with your chain stitch, and then come back to the video, and then we're going to show you how to do a single crochet. We've practiced our chain, so now I'm going to do one more chain, and I'm going to make myself 15 stitches. is 15 chain stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, if you lose count while you're doing them, let's take a look what makes up the chain. So if you take a look, and I call this the top, there are a bunch of V's. So you count all the V's except the one on the hook. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I don't count the one on the hook. Now, what makes up your chain stitch? There is a top part, there's a bottom part, and if you flip it over, there's a back bump. So lots of people do single crochet differently. I'm going to show you how I do it. And just to make life a little easier, you'll see what's going on. All right, so we have to tension our yarn like we did before. So over the pinky, behind, and we're still going to hold on to that. Now, we are going to miss the first chain stitch. We're going to ignore that one. And then we're going to go into the second one. So I go in between, kind of like in the middle of the V. You can see that the back bump is on the top and the lower bump is at the bottom. So you're going to go through 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. Now you're going to grab this. So you go under and grab and pull through. So now I have 2 stitches on my hook and I go around again and pull it through. So that's 1 chain stitch done. So same thing again. So there's the place I go through right there. I push it through. I'm going to grab that through there. And now I've got 2 loops on my hook. And I'm going to go all the way around and pull through. So you can see I have 1 and 2 single crochets. And I just keep repeating. So there's my V. I'm going to put the tip of the crochet hook in right there. There we go. I'm going to grab the yarn and pull it through, which leaves me 2 there. And then I go around and pull the yarn through. Now, this yarn is a little splitty, and what that means is every once in a while I'm not catching all of the fibers, so or all of the plies. So if you wanted to use something a little different, that's okay. I just wanted to use something that was slippery enough that didn't have wool in it to do this. So now what we're going to do is go all the way across doing single crochets, and then I'll show you how we deal with the end. So I'm down to my last 2 stitches. So once again, I'm going to put the tip in, grab my yarn, come around, and then yarn around and pull through 2. Now you can see there is the edge of my slip knot. There is my last V. So I'm going to go in, and I just have to get in there. Now this last stitch is a little interesting sometimes because you've got that slip knot, but I'm in. There's the 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. Around and come through, and there we go. Just give the slip knot a push. So if you take a look at it, there is our first row, and when you get that done, that is the hardest row in crochet. So doing the chain stitch is great, but that first row when you're getting things in and getting things set can be a little tricky. But that's our first row of single crochet. It's important to understand that Canada and UK use different terms for different stitches. I'm using the Canadian ones, but I will put in a PDF that shows you the difference between UK and Canada and the US. So if I count these, which I'm going to do carefully, let me grab a hook for you to see. So it's a little curvy, but we're there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now you may say, but Colleen, what are you doing? You had 15 to start with. That was 15 chains. And if you remember, I missed one of the chains, and that's because we needed to get the yarn up and over. So let's take a look at what happens now. So we need to do the same thing. We need to get up and over. So I'm going to chain one here. So remember how to do a chain stitch. We're going to go left and around and pull through. And now we're going to turn our work. So that chain has just been able to get us up to this part. Now, if you take a look, there's a lovely V, and we're going to go right under the V. So now life is easy, right? There's a hole there. There's the two parts of your V there, and we're just going to do the same thing. So we stick our crochet hook through. We grab the yarn and pull it. There we are with our 2. Yarn around and pull it through 2. Much easier than that first chain. So first row of stitching. So we're going to go in through that hole, grab the yarn. Now we've got 2. Around and pull through 2. So into the hole, grab the yarn, pull through. Now we've got 2. Around and pull it through. And we're going to keep doing that across until we get to the end. So through, around. Now you'll notice I keep moving my fingers. And the thing with crochet is you have to make sure you've got lots of yarn here because it works it very quickly. So it uses it up quick. So once again, let's get tensioned. So over, behind, and around. And now I'm pinching it with thumb, forefinger. In through the hole, wrap it around, and through 2. So I'm going to work all the way to the end. You proceed to do that too, and then we'll see what happens when we get to the end. All right, I'm getting close to the end, so I'm going to go through and then wrap around in 2. So through that hole and then wrap around in 2. And then here is the hole. So remember, we didn't worry about that chain, so we still have the V. We're going to push it through underneath those 2, wrap it around, and there's our 2, and we wrap around and pull through. Now, what you should do every time you finish a row, especially when you're just starting crochet, is you need to count again. So once again, you can count the things on the top, you can count the stitches on the side, but you want to just make sure you're getting everything. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I still have 14. I'm doing great. If you've missed one, that's okay, but understand it's going to change the shape. So we're just trying to make a little rectangle here is what we're doing. So what I would suggest is that you pause this video now. Once again, make a chain 1 and turn, and then go back. So pause the video and go through and do 2 or 3 more rows, and then once you've done that of single crochet, we'll go ahead and try some double crochet. Let's take a look at what we've done. Now, to count the rows, I've got 1 row, so you see a V, and then a back, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 5 rows done. So I want to do 1 more row just to make sure everything's good. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I still have 14 stitches, so I'm happy about that. So let's take a look at 1 more row of single crochet. Now I want to just show you one other thing. I find that sometimes if I wrap that way, it's too loose. So I will often do once around my pinky and then come behind. So let me show you that. So go once around your pinky and then come behind the other ones and grab. Now as you've done more crochet, it's easier. You've got more to hold on to. So I'm getting ready to do 1 more row of single crochet. So I'm going to do a single chain, so around and come through, just a normal chain stitch, turn my work, and remember I don't skip anything, I go right into that one. So here we go. Through and around through 2. So in the hole and grab and around and through 2. In the hole and grab around. You can see it's much easier than that first row that we did. That initial row always takes a little bit more work. but that's okay. Once you get past it, everything else is going to be a little easier for you. So you just continue going across. Now, if you say, Colleen, listen, you're going very fast. You're right, I am. So I'll slow her down, but I've done crochet for a long time. So just remember, through the hole and around, pull it through, and around and through 2. So in the hole and around, and pull through that, and then around and pull 2. In the hole and around and pull 2. In the hole, pull a loop, and then around through 2. And here's the last one. In the hole, pull that loop through, around and through 2. So now you can see that you have a back and a front and a back and a front and a back and a front. So that means we've done 6 rows. Okay, it's looking good. It's starting to flatten out a little bit, which is nice, but now we need to learn something new. So we're going to head into a double crochet. So what we're going to do here at the end of this row is we are going to, instead of doing 1 chain, we are going to do 2 chain stitches. So around and pull through, around and pull through. And the reason for that is that a double chain is going to be, a double crochet is going to be taller. All right, so let's turn it around. Now, because I've created this thing that's tall, it's actually big enough that it's going to count as the first stitch. So we don't go in here when I do a double crochet. I miss the first stitch because those 2 chains are going to be that first stitch. So I don't worry about this and I don't worry about this. When I go in, I'm going to do this. Now, normally when we did our single crochet, we went in there and away we'd go. But double crochet means to double some things. So what we have to do before we go in the hole there is we're going to wrap it around once, then we go through the hole and grab the loop. And let's take a look what we have now. We have 1, 2, 3 loops. So if we're going to pull through 2 loops at a time, we're going to have to do that twice. Double crochet. So around and through the first 2, and then around and through the second 2. And then good, what we've got. So it's taller and it is a double crochet. So let's take a look. We're going to keep doing that. So once again, I'm going to give this extra little loop around, come behind my fingers. I've got lots of good stuff to hold on to. So there's the hole. Sometimes it's good to find that hole first so you know where you're heading. So I'm going to wrap around and push through that hole, and then we're going to grab the yarn and pull the loop through. So now I've got 3 loops on my hook. So I'm going to go around and pull through the first 2 and around and pull through the second 2. So that's looking pretty good. Find the next hole. There it is. And so I'm going to go around, pull through that hole, around and come up. Once again, check, do I have 3 stitches on there? 3 loops, yes. So I'm going to go around and pull through and around and pull through. Because you want to get back to just having 1 loop on your crochet hook. Okay, let's take a look again. So I'm going to go around, go in the hole, grab the yarn, pull the loop through, 3 loops, so I'm in good shape, around and pull through 2, around and pull through 2. Now I'm going to go all the way across, continuing to do this, and then we're going to take a look at what a row of double crochet looks like. Got 1 more to do, so around, push it through, come back, and then through the first 2 loops and the last. Now let's take a look at how this looks. So if you take a look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the singles. And now look at the tall. It's twice as tall. And so remember, this is going to count as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You always want to be checking, but do remember that this one looks a little different because that's our chain 2, and it's going to hold on to that place. Now, there's a number of people that try to do something a little different than this. This is how I was taught, so that's what I do. It's just going to mean when we come back here, this is going to look a little different when we go to put that in. All right, so let's take a look how we do the next. Same idea as before. So wrap around, there we are. And we need to do 2 chain stitches. So there's 1, 2, and then turn the work. Okay. So a chain stitch is a CH as a abbreviation. A single crochet is an SC and a double crochet is a DC. So it works well. So we don't need to go in this first one because that's going to take its place. We wrap around and go through. Pull the loop up. So we want 3 loops here, around and through, around and through. Once again. Around and into the hole, grab the loop up, around through 2, around through 2. There we go, it's looking great. So through, grab that loop, around and through, around and through, around and through. So just work your way across till the very last stitch. And then we're going to take a look. So it's that chain 2 we have to worry about. So I'll just continue across. Don't worry about how fast or slow you're going. You just want to keep moving. So through, around, loop through the first 2, around, loop through the last 2. There we've got 1 again. And through, pull through the hole, around through 2, around through 2. Now here is where life gets interesting. That doesn't look like what all the other stitches look like. So I'm just going to point that for you. So this thing right here doesn't look the same. Now what you need to do is get into this stitch, which is a chain, so it's going to be a little tricky. So what you can do, if you've got a smaller one, you can poke it through and make it a bit bigger. I had tightened mine up probably too much. We're still going to need to wrap around and get in there, but it's going to be a bit of a wingle. And you see I've got 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, just like we did on that initial row. And then we're going to go around and grab it. It's a little bit of a pull. There we go, that looks better. I wrap it around and pull 2, wrap it around and pull 2. So let's count, because we still should only have 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You want to, as you're starting in crochet, you always want to just start the count. Okay, and the reason why you want to start to count every row is to make sure you haven't missed anything. Okay, so let's try one more time together. So I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to try and leave that one a little looser than I did last time. And then we go back. We're going to miss that one, and then we're going to go here into the next one. So grab the loop, pull up, pull through, wrap around, go in the hole, and wrap around through 2, wrap around through 2. There's our hole, wrap around in 2, and just work your way to the other side. All right, I'm to the end. I've got 2 more to do, so I'm going to wrap around and through and pull up those 2. And once again, now I left that a little bit nicer, so wrap around, push that through, and then grab a loop, and there we go. So we've done 1, 2, 3 rows. So we did 6 rows of single crochet, and then we've done 3 rows as double crochet, and it's just about the same height for both of those, so you get an idea of what the stitches do. That's that. Now we want to learn how to skip a part, and we're going to do that in 2 ways. So let's take a look, and here we go. So we're going to do our chain 2 and turn, and we're going to go just into here to get ourselves started. Now, sometimes when you're doing work and you want to leave holes or make it a little lacy, then you'll do the following. So what you're going to do is chain 1, and then you're going to skip 1 and then do a double crochet in that one, in the next one. So we're missing this one and we're going through. So wrap around, pull through those two, pull through those two. So you see how the hole comes up? Once again, chain, miss that one, come through, and through, and through. So we're trying to make the holes show up a lot. So we're going to chain, then we skip one and go into the next one. Looks good. Chain one, miss one. We're going to go in here. So around and grab that, around and pull through 2 loops, around through the other loops. Chain one, go in, pull through, chain one, and there's my spot and my 2 chains at the end. And I wrap around, go through, and around and go through. Now let's take a look. There we go. Now it doesn't end up that half of 14 is 7. We have 8 stitches, and that's because I started us off with going into the one right beside the first one. And the reason for that is I wanted us to have a good place to start. Now when I go to turn around, instead of just doing 2 single crochet, 2 chains, I'm going to do 3. So the first 2 are to make the double crochet, and the next one makes the space. So now I turn. So I'm going to avoid the space, I'm going to wrap around, and now I go into that hole, wrap through, there's my 3 loops, just like we were doing before, wrap around and through, wrap around and through. It's looking good. So now I'm going to make a chain, and then I forget the space and go into the double crochet, wrap around, and then I've got 3 loops. I wrap around once, wrap around twice, and I'll just keep going across. So I make my chain to make my spot, and then I go through. I've got my 3 loops, around and around, and I chain, skip the space, around, go through the hole, 3 loops, around and through the first 2, around and through the last 2. Now I'm going to chain again, around, in and through. There's my 3 loops. There we go, pull through, and then I'm going to make a chain. Now there is, because I didn't skip a spot here, I've got 2. So there's 2 options here. Either we do 2 back to back, which we could do. I think that's what we'll do. So we're going to do 1 here. There's my double crochet. And then I'm going to do 1 in the top of the other, just to make it have a nice end. Oops, let's try that again. That's the nice thing about double crochet, or any crochet, is that you can just slip it out. So I need to be careful. Sometimes this is a little slippery. I need to have a top and a bottom. There it is. Pull through, pull through, pull through. There's our lace pattern working. Now what we want to do is go back through, and we want to fill in all the things so that we have just straight double crochet again. So I'm going to count 2 chains, and I'm going to turn around. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to miss that, and I'm going to do a double crochet here. So around, through the hole, pull, through. So far so good. Now we have to figure out, we had to fill in this spot. So I'm going to go around, but I'm going to go in to this, which is the chain. And we want to have the V on the top. So I pull it through, and then around the first 2, and around through the last 2. And then I'm going to go around and through the double crochet top, around through 2, around through 2. All right, now we got to go into our chain. So this time we're going to go through it. We have to have the 2 V's on the top. Can be a little tricky, this one. There we go. Got 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. Around and through. So now I've got my 3 parts. 2, 2. This is a regularly double crochet, so we just go in, around and through, around and through. Now we've got to get into this. This is always a little tricky, this slip. So you can see there's a part here that you want the bottom to come out. So I've got to make sure that the V that's sitting there is on the top and that other part's on the bottom. But this is a little tricky sometimes. There we go. I've got it through. And 2 and 2. So the double crochets are nice. Through and through. Then we've got to go into this chain. Give it a little jiggle here. There we go. And then you loop it through, and through. Double crochet. Pull it through there. You've got 3 loops, around and around. Here's the tricky part, but we can do it. By the end of the row, you're usually good with it. And around, through. And then we go through this one. Around and around. Now, this is where life gets interesting, because if you take a look, we've got 3 chains. So the first one is the space, so we're going to need to do a double crochet there. And then the second one is the top of the 2 chains, and we're going to need to do 1 there. So let's make sure we got the right count. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, right? We wanted 14. So I need to do 1 up in here. So give it a bit of a push through. And as I said, sometimes it's a little tricky. So around, pull through 2, pull through 2. And so now I'm going to go into this next one and around, pull through 2, pull through 2. Let's take a look. So we have done a lot. Okay. We've got some single crochets, we've got some double crochets, we've got some, it's a little bit like lace work, okay? So we've made some openings, and then we went back and filled it all in. Now the nice thing about yarn and working through, you can always block things if they're not exactly square, but we've got the right numbers. So we know we've got 14 across the top, so we're happy about that. Now, here's our story. When I'm doing a tea towel topper, I have rows that are double crochet, and then I have rows where I need to do a decrease because the top of the towel has to do this. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to do what we did here, but I'm not going to put the single crochet in. I'm not going to put the chain stitch in between the double. Okay, and that will make these holes close up. So let's take a look at what happens here. So I loop it around. I'm going to do just 2, because as I said, I don't need the chain 1 space. Turn it around. Now I want to miss something, so I'm going to miss this hole, and I'm going to go into the next one and do that. So what you need to notice is that I didn't do a chain 3, I just did a chain 2. Okay, and that's going to close it in. Now I'm not going to do a chain at all. I'm just going to skip 1 and go to the next one and do a double crochet there. And then I'm going to skip 1, no chain, skip 1, and then do a double crochet there. I'm going to skip 1. Please notice, no chain there. I'm just going straight into another double crochet. And I've got that done. I'm going to skip 1. Now, this can happen when you're doing your tea towel, which is why I'm glad that it happened here. I'm making sure that I'm decreasing the number of stitches, which I'm glad that I did. And now I have two choices. I either jump over 2, which I found is a little bit big. So I'm going to jump over 1 and do a double crochet. And then I'm going to go into this one as well. And you may say, well, you didn't skip one. You're right. And the trick is when you're doing that, it's okay, because we're going to manipulate it later. And if you look at the tea towel topper video, you will see what happens. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, it's the fact is that you have these end stitches, and those are the ones that you have to hold on to. Now, in the tea towel topper, after a row of decrease like this, then you just go into every one of those. So I'm going to chain 2 and turn around, and now I'm going to do a double crochet in every one of these. So there we go. Wrap around. I do it in every one. So instead of just having it all really open work, you close it down every other row in that tea towel topper. It just makes it a little firmer. So I'm wrapping around in the hole, come through just like we did before, and then we go 1, 2, wrap it around in the hole, through 2, through 2, wrap it around in the hole, through 2, through 2, and then here we go into this one, 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and we go through and through. So you can see what's happened. If you take a look at the shape, it started to do this, right? So it started to move in, and that's what you want in that tea towel topper. You want it to be thinner, okay, at the top. Let's do another decrease round. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to skip a stitch, and then we're going to come through and do a double crochet. All right, so we've skipped that one. We're not chaining. We're going to do that. We're doing great. We're going to skip another one and through. Now this is where you can juggle it. I probably would put another one in, and then I would decide what I have to do. The count that you have to do on the tea towel topper is 10. So I had 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm now at 2, 4, 5. So I didn't half it. I could have missed one here. And I could have missed 2 and then gone into the top. Let's show you what that looks like so you can see. So I'm going to take out 2, take out that one, take out that one. So instead of skipping 1, I'm going to skip 2, and you'll see what it looks like. So if my whole deal was to get half of my 8, I've done it. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's not quite as nice, but it will work. And when you're doing your tea towel topper, you're going to have a certain number. So you're just going to have to follow that. Right now, if you look at this, which was not my intention, I almost look like I've got a Christmas bell. I might have to design something like that. So that's how you do a single crochet, double crochet, do a chain 1 space, and then a double crochet, fill in the holes, double crochet, and then this is you're skipping but no chains because you're decreasing the number of stitches, and we did that a total of 3 times. Before I finish this off, I want to do one more solid row because that will allow me to have more to weave things in. So I've got my hook in, I've got all there. So now I just need to chain 2, 1, 2, turn around. I'm going to miss that one. And so we go 1, through 2, through 2. Loop around, go in and grab a loop, and 2, 2, and around in the hole, grab the yarn, and 2, and 2. So now I've got something that I'm going to weave it in. So now what I have to do, I'm going to cut my yarn. Now, depending on where you listen to, option 1 is you can chain and pull it through. Option 2 is just pull it through. I tend to chain and pull it through. It's just a little bit more solid to me. I know it can cause a little bit of grief at the end, but there we go. Now, that's what I've got. And I have a darning needle, so I'm just going to thread that. Got to make sure I got all the pieces through. There we are. Let me just show you that one more time. I would imagine by now this is something you know, but if you take the thread or the yarn, push it through, pinch it with the nail, and then pull it off the point of your darning needle, and then squeeze it, and then you can push things through. There we go. So it's ready to go. Now, depending on what you determine to be the right side and wrong side, when I'm doing this with the tea towel topper, this has to flip. So where I'm looking at actually ends up being the wrong side because it'll flip over. But for right now, if I'm going to call this a bell, I think I'm going to turn and do it this way. Now the idea is you need to weave this in, and you want to make sure that it's not going to slip out. So let's take a look. I'm going to come down through this hole because I want to get to this spot right here where there's more solid. This has got a little bit more opening. I want it more solid. So I'm just going to work at getting there. So I'm going to come through here and give it a pull. There we go. That'll help me with that edge. I'm going to come back through here. So I'm going to come back through here. So that's looking good. And now I'm going to come through this hole right there. Okay, I'm just going to pick that up, and I'm going to go through 2 more, and then I'm going to go through 2 more and pull that through. Now I'm not pulling anything tight. Okay, and what I'm going to do, and especially with this yarn that I'm using because it tends to be very slippery, I'm going to skip one of the legs. So I'm just come through this one. I'm going to skip it, and I'm going to go in there and in there and in there and come back out. So that way it has to follow along itself and it won't slip out as easy because I've come back in the direction. Okay, so I went through and then I came back, and once again you want to make sure it's not pulled too tight. There you are. And then I'm just going to trim that. So that, actually, it looks a lot like a little bell. Now, let's take a look what we've done. All right, as I said, we've done all the stitches you need. We've done single crochets. We've done double crochets. We've made some open work. We did a double crochet and filled in the holes. And then this is where we started to decrease, decrease, decrease. So it looks really nice. And once again, I just have to weave this end in. So same idea. I'm going to grab my needle. I'm going to pull that through. Now let's take a look. So that's the back. So this has to be the back when I'm dealing with this. And the nice thing about that first row, as much as it was difficult to do, it's easy to weave in. So let's pull this up, and we're just going to go through little bits. Little bits, little bits. Pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay. Let's pull through 2 more. There we are. Okay, we're through that. And then we're going to come back. So now I'm going to go back on itself, but just do the 1 and go through 2 and through 2 and pull. There we are. We're all locked in. It won't come out. there we are. We've done our basic crochet. We've learned about some hooks. We've learned about stitches and how to get started. I hope this tutorial's helped you. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Crochet is so much fun and I hope you will enjoy the process. And until next time, you take care.